Well, hello everybody. Let me show you what you missed today. Man, we had 11 people gone today because of sickness, so those of you that have been sick, I sure hope you get feeling better. So let me show you what we did. What I did is we showed them the answers to the worksheet from day one. So feel free to go through this. You can pause it, make sure that your answers are correct from day one worksheet. But there's those. There's the next little group. Like I said, you can always pause the video. I won't pause it long here. There's the next little group. There's the next little group. And the next little group. And the last. So those were the answers. Now, at this point, we answered questions, and we did take a homework quiz. So we'll need to get in and get that made up ASAP. And then hopefully you have the class notes right in front of you. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start rolling with them. Last time we went over 3 rules. We went over the negative exponent rule, which says if you have a negative exponent, put it opposite of where it is. Meaning, if it's on top, put it down in the basement, down in the denominator. If it's in the denominator, go ahead and put it up in the numerator. And then we looked at what we do if we're multiplying something like this, x to the 5th times x to the 7th. Remember, this rule was you added your exponents. So that's kind of what we had going last time. I'm going to take that up another, not really a step, just I need to show you 2 more rules today. I need to show you what happens if we have a quantity to a power. So look at your very first one here. I've got x squared, that quantity, to the 3rd power. What that means, guys, is I have x squared times x squared times x squared for a total of x to the, and then based on what we did last time, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So x squared cubed is really x to the 6th power. I'm going to bore you again. Look at x to the 5th to the 4th. What that means is I have x to the 5th times x to the 5th times x to the 5th times x to the 5th, 4 times. Well, when I simplify this, my base here is the x. So I'm going to have an x in there 5, 10, 15, 20 times. So there's the answer. I hope at this point you already think you know a shortcut. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 4 is 20. So you got the shortcut of the exponents figured out. But let me show you what happens if there's a number with it. So I'm going to pick on 2a squared to the 3rd. Well, that's going to be 2a squared times 2a squared times 2a squared. Well, in terms of the number, the coefficient, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. A to the 2, 4, 6. So there's my answer, 8a to the 6th. What I wanted you to point out there is your mind starts playing tricks on you. You see 2 times 3 is 6, so you want to go 2 times 3 and put a 6 right there. But what you have to do is 2 to the 3rd power. Here's one last one, and then we're going to talk shortcut. I'm going to take 5b to the 3rd times 5b to the 3rd times 5b to the 3rd times 5b to the 3rd. Well, I got 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. That part gives me 625. b to the 3, 6, 9, 12. So there's my answer. Hey, the shortcut, 3 times 4 is 12, gets me to the exponent. And then I got to grab my calculator or my brain, and I got to do that 5 to the 4th in my calculator. So another rule for you. If you have some quantity with a power within it raised to another power, our rule is we multiply those powers. And I usually in class I'll say a power to a power, multiply the powers. In other words, when we have an exponent raised to another exponent, we multiply. And then the rules that we learned the other day, those don't go away. We get to use those today. So if I'm multiplying something with the same base, that rule is we add our exponents. If I have a negative exponent show up, I got to get rid of it. So I got 1 over a to the m. If it's already in the denominator, I'm going to bring it up to get rid of that negative exponent. So those rules still apply. Hey, now I'm going to pick the pace up a little bit. So here's our next. A to the 8th power to the 9th. If we apply the rule, it's a power to a power. We multiply the power. So my answer, a to the 72nd power. Done. On number 2, I know there's going to be an x to the 9th in there. But I need to take my calculator and get 5 to the 3rd power. 5 to the 3rd power is 125, so there's my answer. 125, x to the 9th, and that's an ugly 5, so I'll make it better. Here's my number 3. I need to take 3 to the 4th power in my head or my calculator, and that's going to give me 81. Then I need to take p to the 1/2 to the 4th. Hey, don't be scared that there's a fraction. Our rule is you multiply. 1/2 times 4 gives me p squared. And then we're done. Here's my number 4. A to the negative 2nd to the 5th. That's going to become a to the negative 10th. But we're not allowed to keep a negative exponent. So to get rid of that negative exponent, I'm going to think of it as 1 over a to the 10th. Number 5, y cubed to the negative 3rd becomes y to the negative 9th. There's a negative exponent. Get rid of it. 1 over y to the 9th. So we're just tying in what we did last time with our new rule today. Here's my number 6. v to the 1/2 to the negative 12th. If I multiply 1/2 and negative 12, I get v to the negative 6. Can't have that negative exponent, so 1 over v to the 6th. Okay. Hey, all I can do for a second is make the numbers a little harder, but the steps are the same. I'm going to have c. You're going to take 1/2 times 2/3. You can type that in your calculator or do it in your head. I'm going to do it in my head, of course. These 2's are going to cancel out, leaving me 1/3, because 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 1 is 3. Here's my number 8. It's going to be s. You'll grab your brain or your calculator and go 3/5 times 4/2. You can multiply straight across and get 12/10. And when I reduce that, I get 6/5. You don't have to do it this way. You could grab your calculator and plug that in. But we want your answer as 6/5, not 1 1/5, and not 1.2. Number 9 is the same as number 6, so I'm going to bypass that one. I'm going to keep moving on. I'm going to beef it up just a little bit, but nothing's really going to change. I got 3a to the 4th b squared, all of that to the 5th power. So what's my answer going to be? I'm going to have to take 3 to the 5th power. I'm going to have to take a to the 4th to the 5th, and I'm going to have to take b squared to the 5th. Well, 3 to the 5th is 243. A to the 4th to the 5th becomes a to the 20th. B to the 2 times 5 is 10. And then stop. There's no negative exponent, so you're done. Now, number 11's got a little trick to it, as does number 12. I need to take 2 to the negative 2nd and g to the 3rd to the negative 2nd. Here's what this is going to become. To get rid of this negative exponent, I'm going to think of this as 1 over 2 squared. And 2 squared is 4, so this becomes 1/4. Now this g cubed to the negative 2nd, that's really g to the negative 6th. Since that's a negative exponent, I'm just going to put that in the bottom with that 4. So that's all there is to it. If I got you a little confused on that one, here's number 12. I need to take 27 to the negative 1/3 times y to the 6th to the negative 1/3. Well, this part gives me y to the negative second. So I know so far I've got y squared on the bottom. That part I know. Now we got to toy with this 27 to the negative 1/3. I need to think of that as 1 over 27 to the 1/3. And then you'll grab your calculator and go 27 caret, or y to the x, parenthesis 1/3. You might grab your calculator and make sure you can do that, because it comes out to be a 3. So I have a 1/3 like that for my answer. It's harder when I use numbers, and I know that. So once again, 27 to the negative 1/3, you have to think of it as 1 over 27 to the 1/3, and then you're going to type this part in your calculator. Keep in mind that there's a 1. Number 13 is one more kind of like it. So you're going to do this first. I have 9 to the negative 1/2, which I'm going to think of as 1 over 9 to the 1/2. When you type that in your calculator, if you correctly type 9 to the 1/2 in your calculator, and you might pause the video and try, you should get a 3, not a 4.5. If you get 4.5, that means you need to go 9 caret key, or y to the x. You got to put that 1/2 in parentheses. So there's a 3 there, a 1 there, and then when I multiply these two exponents, I'm going to get 1/8. 1/8 is positive, so I'm putting it on top. So I kind of threw some tougher ones at you there. I'm going to come back with some easier ones now. So here's my number 14. I got 2 r to the 7/8, s squared, all that to the 8. So I need to go 2 to the 8th in my calculator, guys, and I'm going to get 256. And then I need to multiply 7/8 times 8 over 1. Like I said, you could do that in your calculator. I know when I do that, I'm going to get 7. S to the 2 times 8 is 16, and then you're done. Done with that problem. If there's more to it, then we just slow down and do that. Hey, number 15 is kind of a two-stepper. I need to go simplify this first. A to the 1/3 squared is really a to the 2/3 when you multiply that, times a to the 1/3. Now I switch gears. Now I'm multiplying, which means I add those exponents. So 2/3 plus 1/3. My ending answer for this is a, or a to the 1st. That's all there is to it. On number 16, here's what I'm going to have for a second. I'm going to have 3 to the 5 times 3 is 15 times 3 to the negative 12th. When I simplify this, it's not 9. My base is 3, so I keep that 3. So it's 3 to the, add your exponents, to the 3rd power. Well, 3 to the 3rd power is something simple. It's 27. So then we have that one all whipped. So if it looks like multiple steps, we just go and simplify those. Here's my number 17. I got 2 cubed. So this becomes 2 to the 9th times 2 to the negative 15th. I'm multiplying now, so I add those exponents. So I have 2 to the negative 6th. So really, what does that become? That becomes 1 over 2 to the 6th power. And then to bring this one home, I'm going to write down my 1 for my numerator, but I need to run 2 to the 6th power through my calculator. And then 2 to the 6th power is going to be 64. So if you got multiple things there, just kind of go start attacking them. Here's my number 18. I have d to the 1st times d to the power to the power, so I multiply my powers. Ending answer, d to the 19th. Number 19, I just kind of wanted to make sure you kind of saw where we were going. 5 to some power, 5 to the third is 125. X squared to the third power is x to the sixth. I just wanted to ask you what the question mark would have to be for you to get an 18. So 6 times something, 6 times 3 is 18, so there's my answer, since I just accidentally said it. Now what I had the class do is I had them try 20 through 27. And then I paused and everything. You might pause the video for just a second and you can try those. Otherwise, I'm going to click right through them and we'll go from there. So on your number 20, if you didn't pause the video, great. A cubed to the 6th power, multiply those powers, a to the 18th. Number 21, I got to take 4 to the third. That's going to give me 64. A to the 9th. Here's my 22. I've got to take 5 to the 4th. And that's going to give me 625. B to the 2nd. 1/2 times 4 becomes a 2. Here's my 23. It's going to become C. You'll grab your brain or your calculator and take 3/2 times 1/3. 3's cancel out, so I know this is going to be to the 1/2. 24. This becomes t to the negative 15th. Whoops, I got a negative exponent, so I need to move that down to the basement. I got to move that to the denominator. 25 is back to one of those trick ones. I got to go 16 to the negative 1/2, which is really 1 over 16 to the 1/2. When you run that through your calculator, you should get a 4. Don't touch the 1. Leave the 1 alone. When you go 16 to the 1/2, you should get a 4. And then 10 times negative 1/2 is negative 5. So I'm going to have a v to the 5th in the bottom. And then 2 more before I switch gears on you. 26 had d squared times d cubed to the 4th. So I'm going to have d squared times d to the 12th. So I use one rule. Power to the power, you multiply the powers. Now since we're multiplying, we add those powers. So d to the 14th. Here's 27. I got g times g to the negative 3rd to the negative 2nd. So I'm going to have a g to the 1st. I'm leaving him alone. Times g to the 6th. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. Multiply those together. Add your exponents. Bam. G to the 7th. Okay. So that's our first part of our rule. Like I said, I got 2 rules today. That gets me through the first rule. A power to the power, you multiply your powers. I got one more rule I got to add in on you today. So take a deep breath and then flip over to the back side. I'm going to show you the long way on a couple of these, but then there is a shortcut. So here goes. X to the 6th over x to the 3rd. That really means that I have 6 x's on top and I have 3 x's on bottom. And I'm going to cancel some of those out. X over x is 1, x over x is 1, x over x is 1. Ending answer, x to the 3rd. So I know that x to the 6th divided by x to the 3rd is 3. Let me look at a to the 5th, b to the 4th over a cubed, b to the 4th. Well, that means I'm going to write it down here. I'm going to have 5 a's on top and 4 b's. And on bottom, I'm going to have 3 a's and 1 b. Well, check out what I can do. I can take away that a, and that a, and I can cancel out one of these b's. So I'll cancel him and him. Hey, look what's left, though. I've got an a squared and a b to the third. Of course, what do we want to do? We don't want to write all this out. We want to go from here to there. So hopefully in your head you're saying 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. So my rule is subtract the exponents. Let me check this one out. I got 8x to the 6th over 10x cubed. I'm going to reduce 8/10. 2 goes into both of them. So I'm going to get 4/5. Then I'm going to have 6 x's on top and 3 x's on bottom. Well, I'm going to cancel out 3 of them again. So I'm going to have 4/5 x to the third. Hey, so the shortcut, we're not going to write out all those x's again. Our shortcut is, if you're dividing, you will subtract your exponents. If a negative number shows up, put it in the denominator. Other rules that we still get to use, if you're multiplying, you add your powers. If you got a negative exponent, put it in the denominator. If it's already in the denominator, bring it up. And if you got a power to the power, that's that rule we just did, you multiply those powers. So those are our rules. Hang with me because I really don't have that much more to go. So here's how easy it is. X to the 10th over x to the 6th becomes x to the 10 minus 6, which is x to the 4th. You're done. My number 2, x to the 5th, y to the 15th over x squared, y to the 9th. This becomes x to the 5 minus 2 is 3. Y to the 15 minus 9 is 6. And then we're done. Here's my number 3. I need a better name for 10/15, and that's going to be 2/3. Hey, notice I went ahead and drew a big fraction bar. Now if a negative shows up, I'm just going to put it in there. 4 minus 2 is 2, so I'm going to have an a squared on top. 9 minus 4 is 5, so I got a b to the 5th. So there we go. No negative exponents, so there's my answer. Here's my number 4, though. I've got x cubed over x to the 6th. This becomes x to the 3 minus 6, which really becomes x to the negative 3rd, but you're not allowed any negative exponents, so this becomes 1 over x cubed. What I'm hoping that you can do, 3 minus 6 is negative 3. You said a negative, so you go straight to the answer. Here's my number 5. I'm going to have a, oh no, there's a fraction. So we're just going to grab your calculator, 3/5 minus 1/2. If you run that through correctly, you get 1/10. So then you're done. My number 6, I'm going to go a to the 37/5 minus 5. When you type that in your calculator, you get a to the 12/5. You're done. Stop. Last 3. So 7, 8, and 9, I got a to the 7th over a to the negative 3. So this becomes a to the 7 minus negative 3. 2 negatives become a positive. This answer, a to the 10th. Here's my number 8. I need a better name for 2/10, and that happens to be 1/5. Now I'm going to go 10 minus 8 is 2, so I got x squared. I'm going to go 6 minus 6 is 0, but remember guys, anything to the 0 is 1. So we're done there. Here's my number 9. I need a better name for 12/8, which happens to be 3/2. Subtract your exponents. 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Since we said negative, it goes in the bottom. And then 11 minus 7 is positive 4. Since it's positive 4, it goes in the top. Then it looks like I got a couple more, then I'm going to be done. I'm going to do number 9 or number 10, 11 with you. I won't worry about number 12. So here's my number 10. I need a better name for 15 ninths. Oh, it looks like 3 goes into both of them, so I got 5 thirds. Then I'm going to go 5 minus negative 9. And once I do that, guys, I get 14. So I got an A to the 14th on top. And on the B, I got negative 2 minus 7, which is negative 9. Since we just said a negative, it goes on the bottom. And then we're done. My number 11, I got a fraction, 5a squared over 3b cubed, to the third power. No big deal. I need to take 5 to the third power and get 125. A squared to the third power. Power to the power, you multiply your powers, so a to the 6th, all over. 3 to the third, 27. B to the 3 times 3 is 9. And then we got it. Well, that's the lesson that you missed. So hopefully you got your sheet in front of you. If you have any problems, buzz in. We'll get you straightened out. Good luck.